Hello everyone, my name is Zoe. I was born and raised in a city, went to a regular school, and everything was just fine with me. My parents are biologists and have spent a lot of time in labs and in different countries for research. I always miss them, but I'm so used to staying with my grandmother. By the way, my grandma is a wonderful person and she loves me very much and protects me from everything. Even my dad considers me to be fragile and still calls me a kid. It's all very cute and my world really is all pinks and frills. I want to tell you the story of one single day that changed my life. That day was a nightmare for me. My parents announced that they had a new project and we were moving to Madagascar, which is sometimes called the 8th continent, a naturalist's paradise. 80% of the island's flora and fauna cannot be found anywhere else in the world. And for the next couple of years, we will live on the island, in the jungle. So, I was being transferred to online school and I was going with them. It was a shock. I really had no idea what to do. We had to quickly pack our things and go on a long flight. Then we drove off the road for a long time by car, and the further we drove, the more forest there was, or rather, it looked more and more like a jungle. We were very tired and it was dark, and when we finally arrived, my dad lit a flashlight and we saw the house. It was a large two-story house, like that in the Mowgli movie. It was built around a tree of planks and palm leaves. There was no light, no water, nothing. I went into my bedroom and fell asleep without even changing my clothes. In the morning, I was awakened by the bright rays of the sun. I had no strength left in me at all. I opened my eyes, and a huge spider was sitting on a pillow next to me, all black and furry. I screamed so that my parents came running. Dad saw a spider and laughed for a long time. Said it was a flower spider, or Mizumena vatia in Latin, a species of spiders of the family of sidewalk spiders, and it was not poisonous at all. Dad carefully took him off the pillow and put him on a branch. I was petrified. It turns out that there could be anything in my room. Was I not safe there? I was simply paralyzed with fear. I tucked my legs and sat on the bed all day. My parents tried to convince me that even though there were poisonous animals on the island, there were still very few of them left. And even the scorpions were smaller there. But I was still not happy with such neighbors. In the evening, my parents organized the house, turned on the generator, and the light came on. The kitchen smelled of delicious and unusual food. I could hear music and wanted to go downstairs. It was so cute in the house. My mom set up our dinner on the veranda. There was no one around, just the sounds of the jungle. I heard the voices of animals that I had never seen. Trees unknown to me rustled. Suddenly, we heard thunder, and then a heavy rain started pouring. And all this time, we sat on the veranda and drank tea with herbs. It was so delicious, and it was so calm. The next day, we heard someone chopping down a tree. My dad was alarmed. He said that among the rare species growing on the island were the two endangered kinds of trees. Like the other species of the Dalbergia family, the slow-growing red trees of Madagascar are prized for the bright-colored red wood, and it was used in the manufacture of expensive furniture. The Madagascar red trees are now endangered. Cutting down mahogany in the Madagascar is a serious business. Wood was in great demand and can be sold at prices ranging from $20,000 to $25,000 per ton. He told my mother to call the police and got into the car and drove into the jungle. I was very scared. My mom called the police and we waited. Suddenly, we heard shots in the jungle. Oh my god, my dad was there. He probably found the poachers and they attacked him. Mom ran into the garage. We had another car there, an old Jeep, and the engine started with difficulty. And then we finally drove into the jungle. Mom threw my bag and told me to load the flare gun. I didn't know what to do. Mom gave me directions while driving. The road was terrible, or rather, there was no road at all, and we felt every bump. The Jeep had no roof, and from time to time, I was hit with branches in the face, and I could not handle a gun. Suddenly, I saw that a snake was hanging on a branch and that it flew in my direction. I screamed. The branch hit me in the face and the snake fell into my hands. I screamed uncontrollably, but my mother was sitting in front and could not help me. She told me to calm down and to cover the snake with a bag. I could not move, and then my mother loudly scolded me that my father's life depended on my behavior. It was as if I got turned off. I stopped yelling and I abruptly threw the bag at the snake, grabbed it through the bag, and then threw it out of the car. After that, my hands stopped shaking. I loaded the gun. Then we drove as quietly as possible. Soon we saw the poachers. They tied up my dad and continued to cut trees. Mom's walkie-talkie began to rustle. It was the police. They asked to indicate the place we were at. Mom told me that the situation now got very dangerous, but we had to make us heard, because otherwise we would not be able to help Dad. We left the car, grabbed more rockets, and went into the jungle. At that moment, I honestly did not care who and what was around me. The main thing was to save my dad. Mom fired the gun in the air. The poachers began to run and look for where the shot had come from. The second time, she fired directly into their camp. Their tent caught on fire. They began to rush, put out the fire, grabbed the weapons, and rushed in different directions to look for us. At that moment, a spider sat on my shoulder. I didn't know if he was dangerous or not, but I understood that if I screamed now, then everything would be lost. I held back a cry and kicked it off my shoulder. Mom gave me a silent thumbs up. From our side, we heard car noises and shots. It was the police. They freed Dad and caught the poachers. So this is the incredible story that happened to me. My parents' work is coming to an end, and I'm very sad to leave this place. During this time, the jungle had become my home. But soon, they have a new project, and we will go, well, guess where we are moving next in the comments. If you liked the video, then press the like button and leave a comment. And don't forget to subscribe.
Hi everyone, my name is Zuluzinho. I'm Ethiopian from Somalia. I grew up without parents. I had to survive. And how to survive on the street? Of course, steal. I stole bread from the central market counter, took dates on the farmer's market. I'm embarrassed to be honest, but I had to borrow shoes from the mosque because I had nothing to put on. Many guys were caught, but my friend Zamba and I were the best and remained elusive. Once in a while, we moved to new cities where we again lived on our craft. We were caught once in a new town and taken somewhere outside the city, into some half-abandoned building. We were informed that from now on, we are working for Mr. Gilani. If we want to live in warmth, satiety, and on a soft bed, we must obey the elders' orders. Those who will not follow and resist will receive 100 strokes with sticks. We were divided into pairs and forced to fight with each other. Then, according to the results, we were split into groups. Those who lost began to be trained to steal wallets from pockets and bags, to divert attention, and many other tricks. Those who won in their pair were taught to fight with knives, hold weapons, and shoot. Zamba and I were in different groups. I got to the militants and Zamba to the thieves. But not everyone did well. They were taken away somewhere and we never saw them again. There was psychological recruitment at the same time. We were told that this is the best thing that could happen to us in our life, and that if we are loyal to the end, then fortune is waiting for us. We were shown films about a beautiful life, large, luxurious houses, expensive cars, and they said that all of it will be ours soon. Some completely changed at this stage and believed. It happened to Zamba. The last time we talked to him, I saw how he changed. He became nervous. There was a lousy gleam in his eyes. Since then, we've been divided, and I have not seen him anymore. I was given the first combat mission. I had to guard a small food warehouse on the outskirts of the city. The night was unusually dark. The senior guard sent me around to check the area and went to sleep in a security booth. I was terribly scared and listened to every rustle. Suddenly, I heard someone climb over a fence. My knees shook and my palms broke sweat. I ran to the sound source and saw a skinny man in rags. When the man saw me, he began to chatter. He has nothing to eat, and he has 5 hungry children to feed. Because of nerves and sweaty palms, my AK-47 assault rifle slipped out of my hands and fell to the ground. Since we were taught not to put the weapon on safety catch, it fired, and the bullet hit the man's head. In horror, I picked up a gun. Literally, a few seconds later, a shot rang out behind me and I saw a similar man fall, but with a knife, and a senior guard was standing behind him. He thought that I shot the intruder, although it was an accident. After this incident, I was awarded a basket of fresh fruit and new clothes. I still guarded this warehouse for some time, after which they told me that it was time for me to go on to more dangerous tasks since I'd proved myself. I was taken to the coast. There was a base of sea pirates. I became a part of the team. We chased ships in the ocean and threatened with gunshots. Sometimes security came across and we retreated. Sometimes we were thrown off boxes as a payoff. But as they told me, the most valuable thing was to take on the ship and demand a ransom. It was considered a great success and the primary goal of our attacks, but but we didn't get lucky for a long time, until once we managed to seize some ship. Something happened to his engine and we quickly caught up with him and boarded. I saw white people for the first time in my life. They were all driven into the hold, tied up, and I was put as a guard. At first, their captain was interrogated by our elder for a long time in a language unknown to me. The white captain hesitantly made excuses, but ours only got angrier and angrier. It was clear that something was going wrong. Our whole team went somewhere, leaving me alone with the crew of the captured ship, giving me the task of guarding and, in case of what, to fire. Time was ticking. The captain of the ship spoke to me. I didn't understand him, but it was clear that he was asking for something. Surely to let them go. I knew that if I let them go, I could lose my head. Suddenly, there was an explosion. The ship began to roll quickly to the side. The captain pleadingly held out his handcuffs, asking for release. I hesitated, but then the second explosion thundered, and I made a decision. I shot the chain of handcuffs and released all the crew. There's no turning back. Now, my former teammates and I are enemies. With the crew, we climbed onto the deck. The ship was rapidly sinking. With my eyes, I was looking for our boat. The moment I saw it, an explosion thundered again. I was dazed and thrown into the water by the shockwave. I began to sink, but came to my senses and swam to the surface of the water. Everything around was burning, and no one was to be seen. I miraculously survived. One of our boats that survived was carried away into the ocean, and I swam after it. I barely made it and climbed on board. Only now I could look at the whole picture. The ship sank already. The water around this place was still burning in some areas, and the sky was covered with thick, black smoke. I tried to start the engine of my boat, but a motor was damaged, and I had no choice but to surrender to the ocean's will. I drifted for 3 weeks. The water supplies from the boat's glove compartment were long gone, and if it wasn't for some rainy days, I would be dead. The forces left me, and I already said goodbye to life. By some miraculous combination of circumstances, a Swedish ship found me. I was taken aboard, and as a refugee was taken to Sweden. I learned Swedish. It's not as tricky as Somali. I live in a refugee camp. I like it here, and I want to bring Zamba here. I wonder how he is there. I hope he's well. That's all for now. I will definitely tell you what will happen next, but for now, subscribe to the channel and give us a like.